we're talking about a government that surreptitiously, even the monies that they allegedly have made, they're putting through querulous and questionable contracts. Contracts that appear like it's Nigeria for sale, with the president being the seller, the Senate, and citizen Godswill Akpabio being the auctioneer. And who are the buyers? Mr. President through his friends, the Chaguris. That's where that same humongous money is going. Nigerians are hungrier, angrier, and poorer than they were when this presidency came into power. So I want to ask those who think that we're crying foul, those who think that we're crying blue mother, to engage us on issues, not on propaganda, to engage us on fundamental issues of state. Because I want to say here again that because they know that they cannot win a free and fair election, they brought in Amopiton to rig the process, and he has begun the process from the start. But I tell you, Victor, we will not watch it happen. Like we fought the military, like we fought IBB, we fought Abacha, and we insisted that Absalom does not stay in power for long. We will fight this presidency, we will defend our democracy, we will fight for the plurality of choice, we will fight for true democracy in Nigeria, and we will not cower.
All right, welcome to another edition of Naija Unfiltered, a SYMFONI podcast. And our guest on today's edition of the program is Chris Nwaokobia Jr., convener, Country First Movement, a good governance advocacy group. Good to have you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, on April 1st, that's April Fool's Day, the INEC chairman, Joash Amopiton, shocked Nigerians with what seemed like a joke on Nigerian democracy when it announced decision to derecognize the African Democratic Congress leadership led by former Senate President David Mark. How did the news come to you?
Like you noted, April Fool's Day, it was a joke that was taken too far. It was a joke of immense absurdity, profound absurdity. I've told people, and I'm saying it here, that we have never come this low. We have never seen an umpire play into or play the script of the executive so shamelessly. We have never seen, we've seen since 1999 several INEC chairmen. We've seen them criticized for less than proper conduct in electioneering. We have seen criticisms. You remember Maurice Iwu, and remember what the former president, Umaya Adua, said after he was sworn in. And that began the process of a review, an overhaul, if you like, of our electoral act. Yadua admitted that the election that got him to power was flawed. Now, very tragically, we have on our hands an electoral umpire that doesn't care about history. He doesn't care about the nuances and, if you like, permutations of the Nigerian electorate. He doesn't care about anything. All he cares about is what the APC wants him to do. Very sadly so. Before now, you would tell that clearly most INEC executives, most INEC umpires have been criticized post electoral larceny, post general elections, assessed on the basis of a performance in elections. But very unfortunately, we have a man who says to us, I don't care what you think. He who pays the piper calls the tune, and who pays me is Mr. President, and the APC must call the tune. And he's doing that without scruples. He's doing that without decorum. He's doing that without decency. Because clearly, we know that George Amopiton is supposed to be a senior lawyer, so he understands the law. Now, when you deliberately squeeze, taint, and albeit surreptitiously, ignore what you've been taught from elementary Nigerian legal system. We understand what the law says when it says that when a court orders that the status quo antebellum should be sustained, we know what it means. Every young lawyer knows that. And for a professor who has written books, for a professor who should know better, to hide behind one finger and misinterpret the law and proceed to, if you like, de-recognize the executives of the African Democratic Congress and do so unashamedly, do so without decency, then it gives us cause to worry. But I want to say clearly that the witch cried last night, the child dies this morning, and you make your conjectures. And what are the conjectures simply? Since this INEC came on board, since Joash Amupitan became the chairman, he has not hidden the fact that he has come to play a script. He has not hidden the fact that he wants to ensure that by hook or by crook, this presidency returns to power. And let me say, I think it was on this platform that I said that long ago, there's this cliche my friends and I would play with when we analyze the Nigerian electoral system. We root to the answer. Now, the INEC chairman has a script well authored. From the APC through the rogue Senate, superintended by rogue Senate President, citizen Obot Goswell Akpabio, and the manipulation of the Electoral Act, from the nuances that gave us the worst electoral act in our historicity, where, as it were, INEC can manipulate the whole process from start to the end, where, as it were, they can wake up any morning and throw us surprises because they have teleguided the process such that only the APC can meet most of the normatives, where, as it were, the law does not even recognize the fact that small parties should and must thrive, and where, as it were, they have gotten an umpire who must play their script completely. It's sad and saddening, it's sickening to see that Fool's Day action, the April 1st action of Joash Amupitan, to the extent that his misinterpretation of the position of a court led them to drop in the names of the ADC executives from the INEC portal. And I asked myself, who will benefit from a one-party state? Who? Who will benefit from an electoral process that's manipulated and machinated? Who? To what end is all this shenanigans? To what end? Because, Vic, as I talk to you, it does bother the carapace of my mind that those who pride in anti-dictatorship resume, those who say that, oh, we are pro-democrats, are the ones dealing, albeit fatally, with our democracy. They are the ones who have chosen to undermine everything that works for democracy. The plurality of choice, the right to dissent, the right to an effective and constructive opposition, the right to a credible opposition at the polls. They just don't want any opposition. They want more like in 2027 February, they want INEC to call Mr. President unopposed, and that will make them happy. And I ask myself, why have we lost every semblance of sanity? Why have we lost our sense of decency? And why have we even forgotten that the schoolboy defines democracy as a government of the people, for the people, and by the people? And those were the words that Abraham Lincoln etched on a collective canvas regarding democracy. And I remember that during the Second World War, Winston Churchill, in one major speech of his, said that Britain was getting into the war very effectively so because the government of the people, for the people, and by the people must not be allowed to die. Unfortunately, those who pride in pro-democracy credentials are those who have nailed democracy in Nigeria to the cross. They are the ones who are clearly determined to destroy democracy in Nigeria. But God is not mocked, Victor. The arm that runs the universe has not gone numb or limb. The universe that came out of primal vapor was machinated and manipulated by a supreme being, and that force is still alive. I think that that was what motivated my current series, Victor. And I said to Bart, you're eating up yourself. In endangering democracy, you're eating up yourself, because the truth is that whether true or false, Nigerians at some point have believed that you were truly a pro-democrat. But as it were today, you're the greatest individual threat, the greatest singular threat to democracy, and it's a tragedy of sorts.
Can you help us make sense out of what he did on that April day?
Interestingly, I'm a lawyer by training. In so many of my colleagues that went to law school with me, and very senior lawyers too, have come out to say that for the first time, it is surprising that the single cliché legal practice, status quo antebellum, that just about every lawyer understands, has been deliberately misinterpreted by a professor of law. And so it comes back to that same practice: he who pays the piper calls the tune. They perhaps have written to him, and we had letters have been flying around between the APC and INEC. And so they've come up with a misinterpretation, a misdirection of a provision of the law. Everyone knows, I know, you know, the media knows. All the opposition political parties and the civil society knows that that interpretation and the steps taken by Amopiton, the INEC chairman, was wrong. You don't. What is status quo antebellum? The status of the matter before it came to court, the status that the parties had before the matter came to court. And what made the matter go to court? There was someone in position. David Mark's executive of the ADC was the status of the parties before they went to court. And so the simple interpretation was to say, recognize David Mark and his team until the substantive matter is determined in court. Simple. And to hide behind one finger, to want to be smart by half, by saying that the court order has made it impossible for him to recognize either the David Mark executive or the alleged executive of a man who had resigned. Victor, that's how strange this whole spectacle is. We have all over the media copies of the resignation letter of the man that the INEC is siding with to drop the valid executives of ADC from his portal. He had resigned. He had said, I accept that our team should drop for the ADC to become the vehicle for a vibrant coalition. Now, because the APC is scared of every opposition, mark my choice of word, every opposition, the APC is not only scared of the ADC, the APC is scared of any gathering of Nigerians, mark my choice of words. Any movement that says no to Bola Ahmed Tinubu returning in 2027 is a threat to the APC. And you know why it is? Because this government has failed colossally. You know why it is? Because this government has underperformed humongously. You know why it is? Because this government is a woeful one. And I said this for 4 strong reasons, Victor. Why would the APC not be scared? This party has told us that since they removed fuel subsidy, that the government has made much more money and that the states are getting more money. Mark this. The same government that tells us that has borrowed more money than Buhari borrowed in 8 years, has borrowed more money than any federal government has borrowed since 1999. How do you reconcile this? And then when you ask yourself, what have they done with these monies? Victor, Nigerians are poorer today than they were 3 years ago. Victor, Nigerians traveled for Christmas 2 years ago, 3 years ago without sleeping on the highway. Yes, the highways were bad. But the government that tells us that is revamping our infrastructure had Nigerians sleeping for 2 nights on the roads during the last Yuletide. The roads are worse than they ever were. And then the new ones that they're telling us about, I don't know how far they've gone. Victor, that's how bad it is. And then we're talking about a government that surreptitiously, even the monies that they allegedly have made, they're putting through querulous and questionable contracts. Contracts that appear like it's Nigeria for sale, with the president being the seller, the Senate and citizen Nwaokobia being the auctioneer. And who are the buyers? Mr. President through his friends, the Chaguris. That's where that same humongous money is going. And you ask yourself, for what? Perhaps because they know that having failed, they will have to pay so much to buy the next election. I just don't understand. That's how bad it is. And then you ask yourself, what have they done with Medicare? Nigeria today has the worst life expectancy bracket in the world. That's how bad it is. Victor, in the past 48 hours, I've lost 3 friends. So I want to ask those who think that we're crying foul, those who think that we're crying blue mother, to engage us on issues, not on propaganda, to engage us on fundamental issues of state. Because I want to say here again that because they know that they cannot win a free and fair election, they brought in Amopiton to rig the process, and he has begun the process from the start. But I tell you, Victor, we will not watch it happen. Like we fought the military, like we fought IBB, we fought Abacha, and we insisted that Absalom does not stay in power for long. We will fight this presidency. We will defend our democracy. We will fight for the plurality of choice. We will fight for true democracy in Nigeria, and we will not cower. Those who think that we will cower are dreamers. We're veterans in honorary suffering. We're veterans in creative sufferings. And we know that it is redemptive. Victor, because what is life after all? They're pushing Nigeria to a tipping edge. And Nigerians will fight back sooner rather than later.
All right, we will say that INEC is committing electoral sabotage, given that, one, there are clear-cut electoral timelines and processes, and given what INEC had done, freezing out ADC, it becomes practically impossible or mathematically impossible to meet with the timelines. In plain language, do you think they are committing electoral sabotage?
No, that's what they're doing. I told you, it's rule to the answer. Electoral sabotage par excellence. That's what Amopiton is a hireling playing out the script of his masters. That's what he's doing. And he's doing it unashamedly. He's doing it soullessly. I have never seen a man so bereft of scruples, and I said that without fear of querulous critics. If he has any left in him, he should resign and go back home with some honor. If he has any left in him, he should resign, throw back this mess to the APC and tell them that he cannot manipulate the process any further. If he has any scruples in him, he should think about the future of his children and the name after now. That's actually my advice to him, because you see, this electoral sabotage will lead to no good. And I said this without doubts. Victor, the time has come, and we're saying this clearly to the APC and to the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. Open the jails. Open the prisons, because we're ready to come in there. We will not watch the manipulation or machination of the 2027 election. It won't happen. We are organizing. Victor, we're not agonizing no more. They have come clearly to tell us that if you don't know, we're rigging 2027. And we're saying that we know that you want to rig 2027, but we will not allow it. So it's going to be the meeting of two forces, Victor. And what do they have? The prisons, the jails, the police, the DMI, the DSS. That's what they have. So set them after us. That's what we're saying. Because we will not keep quiet. Victor, at 55, I have passed the life expectancy age in today's Nigeria. That's how bad it is. I see younger people die of heart attack. I see younger people die of stroke. Victor, and it's going to get worse if we don't do anything. So what must we do? Challenge this ogre, this man-eating ogre that has decided to destroy our country. Challenge this ogre that has decided to build debts for Nigerians in the future. Oh, you don't know how bad it is. Just a few days ago, the Senate, the rogue Senate, approved another $6 billion loan. I don't know what they want to do with Nigeria. Sell Nigeria off to themselves and their children? And you think we should be quiet?
It's alleged that Wike destroyed the PDP from inside. The ADC crisis is destruction from outside using INEC and allegedly using INEC. And many Nigerians call it a mockery of democracy. What's your opinion on this?
You were being generous by using the word allegedly. It's a clear fact. And Wike is proudly doing that. He's happy, but of course you know he's soulless, so he'll be happy. He's lacking scruples, so he'll be happy. For the first time, we see a man who's shamelessly dancing naked in town square. You saw him the other day, threatening a broadcaster who's doing his job, that if he had his way, he would have shot him. Because we live in a country where the men who should pretend leadership have no morals, no conscience, no scruples, no integrity, and they're absolutely shameless and soulless. So for putting the facts before Nigerians, to Nyesom Wike, Shehu Okinbaloye should be shot. For putting the facts before Nigerians, some of us who oppose this uneventful and underwhelming and underperforming presidency perhaps should also be shot. But let me say clearly, and that brings me back to the teeth of your question. I want to say again and again that the destruction of a PDP was a continuation of a series of actions that this presidency took when it came to power. They started first with Labour Party. You forgot? They took over surreptitiously the funding of Labour Party and started manipulating their Bure president, the chairmanship, and then using the plethora of court orders to mess the party up. And when P2B and some of us left the Labour Party, watch what happened. They let the Labour Party be. And that is why you have a Nanadi Usman now in charge of Labour Party, because they're done with messing up the party. If perhaps tomorrow morning, I'm telling you, we say, okay, let us return to the Labour Party, they will return with a crisis. That's the clear drama. Now you ask yourself, the PDP, every attempt to resurrect the PDP has been dealt with by the presidency through Nyesom Wike and in conspiration, in cahoots with the courts, the judiciary. That's what they've been doing. One cut order after another, and now they have gone to hold a mockery of a national convention without the crux, the major stakeholders of the party. That's on the one hand. And now you want to ask, that's destruction from inside, clearly so, and manipulated, funded by the presidency. I don't know whether you heard that they have a special fund in the presidency that is called the obliteration of opposition funds. That they use the money to create crisis in political parties. As I talk to you clearly, a man resigned from his position because, according to him, he felt that the ADC should serve as a veritable platform for the coalition. And a few weeks after his resignation, signed resignation, the APC doles out monies to him. Clearly so. Some allegedly said he was given 2 billion. And he suddenly wakes up and said, I did not leave. The papers are there. And no, I am not in support of the David Mark-led executive. And so in cahoots with INEC and the judiciary, the next direction is destroy the ADC so we do not have a credible opposition. But I tell you, unfortunately for the minders of this presidency and those who are playing the script, they have forgotten, and I said time without number, that the ideal opposition that Nigeria has today and that this government has been cutting, unfortunately for them, without caution, is the people. The real opposition today are the masses of our people on the streets, in the offices, in the federal secretariat, in the offices in Aso Rock. Nigerians are unhappy with the drama being played out by Mr. President, Wike and his cohorts, the judiciary, and INEC. Nigerians are angry. Let them send out secret police to feel the pulse. Maybe that will teach them a lesson. Maybe then they will come to understand why my new series is so pungent. I am in the streets. I hear people. I listen to them. And I know how angry. And perhaps that's why they have decided to make INEC the third leg in the effort to destroy our democracy. Because INEC has lost everything about the IND, independence. Now they are fully dependent not only on the presidency, the APC, and the minders of the presidency. And that's how sad it is. So, back to that question clearly, Wike was procured to destroy the APC, to destroy the PDP, and that's what he's doing. Amopito was brought into INEC to destroy every sense of credibility of the electoral process, and that's what he's doing. And the end result of all this is to regain the president come 2027. But Nigerians will not allow it. You see, let me say this, Victor, the power of the people has always been in history mightier than the power of those in power.
You use the metaphor of the snake that eats itself. But the snake eating ADC isn't ADC, it's INEC, which is an arm of state controlled by the presidency that fears the ADC coalition. Is President Tinubu afraid? And what should Nigerians interpret this INEC action as? Action of a frightened man in Aso Rock, or what?
The presidency under the watch of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not only afraid, is a coward. Mark my choice, those words are mine. We have never seen such a cowardly presidency that after you have swallowed up as much as 31 governors, after you have swallowed up as much as near 90% of the national legislature, after you have improved upon, quote and unquote, state capture and control of state apparatus, you still will not allow the opposition to thrive. That's cowardice. They're not just scared, it's cowardice. And now, the little that is left of the opposition to try, the little effort that we're making to ensure that we build confidence, deepen and sustain our democracy, you have decided to destroy through the INEC. You don't want an opposition at all, and you call it a democracy? Where in the world does it happen? And then some will tell you that, oh, the man who was in charge was a Democrat, he indeed fought for democracy. But clearly history is playing out. And so many people who were involved with us in the struggle for the revalidation of June 12 are beginning to speak up, to actually say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu ran into exile because Abacha refused to honor his pact with him. And clearly he's vindicating that argument because he's showing that there is no democracy, no modicum of democratic credentials in him. Why will a president and his party have as much as 31 governors and you still do not want a credible opposition? Why would they have more than 80% of the Senate and you don't want a credible opposition? What is he afraid of? And I clearly say, because they have failed woefully, they do not want a vibrant opposition. But the Nigerian people are saying, it's beyond your partisan imbroglios. It's beyond your desire to destroy partisan opposition. We will resist you. And let me tell you, Victor, interestingly, Nigerians are saying, whether they like it or not, we're going to come out to vote in 2027. That's why they're saying no to the revalidation of the voter's card. I hope you understand that idea. Nigerians are saying, oh, we don't care whether there is Mandela on the old card. We don't care whether there is Muhammad Ali on the old card. We don't care whether Cassius Clay is in the old register. We don't care whether Nelson Mandela is on the old register. We want that register because that's where I can find my name. And since my name is there, I don't want anybody to tell me any hubris about revalidation. When we finish with the 2027 election, we can begin with revalidation of voter. That's how angry Nigerians have become. So everything that this present INEC is mouthing, ditto, oh, let's try and fine-tune the electoral register and remove names that are non-existent. Let us try to, it's misinterpreted, or perhaps justly so, seen as the effort of the presidency through INEC to shortchange the people come 2027. Nobody believes this INEC anymore. So if there is anything left, any morality, any sensibility of right, any sense of justice or scruples left in Amopiton, I tell you, it is not a call that is bordering on threat. It's a call that is bordering on his future and the future of his dependents. He should resign because nobody's willing to trust anything he says anymore. Clearly, he has put almost every step wrongly, and Nigerians are saying, we don't trust you. Nigerians are getting ready. I've listened to interviews by my brothers and friends who are saying clearly that we will boycott 2027 if INEC continues like this and if the ADC leadership is not returned to the portal. And I'll tell you what, it is a precursor to a revolution. That's why I warned. This president is that proverbial snake that is feeding on its tail, that's eating itself. Because if all you have fed on before was to tell Nigerians that you're a Democrat, you're the one destroying democracy. What an irony. He's the one destroying democracy today. And these actions of his will do him no good.
ADC says he's going ahead with his congresses, whether INEC recognizes or not. And INEC, one is tempted to ask, if INEC does not monitor this Congress and does not recognize the congresses by the ADC, will ADC be legally right to field presidential candidates and governorship candidates in the 2027 elections?
Victor, let me make you laugh. ADC threatened that it will go ahead with its conventions. INEC replies and says, do not make the mistake that the PDP or the APC made in Zamfara State. That's Amupito telling you the script. If you go ahead, we will not recognize you. We will not recognize your candidates. We will call the ADC non-existent with respect to the next election. That's simple. So you see what it is? The witch cried last night, the child dies this morning. You see what it is? He who pays the piper calls the tune. You see what it is? Amopiton's INEC playing the APC script. That's what it is. If you can't stop the opposition, stop them from fielding candidates. If you can't stop them from fielding candidates, when we return to the last leg, we'll rig absolutely. But I want to say clearly that when these scripts, or wherever they couch these scripts, don't they have people who can sit back and say, this is Nigeria really, this is not Cameroon, where Biya will wake up and appoint his son vice president. This is not Mobutu Sese Seko's Zaire, where everywhere, not only will they sing the songs of sycophants, but before national news, they will play his song and show his picture. You know, this is a country where we're saying, stop singing on your mandate, we shall stand before state functions. So you can't conquer us. It is not possible. Those who are telling him that, Victor, let me say clearly, if the 36 state governors go over to the APC, they still will not win 2027. That's the truth. Bring their best script writers and let them confront us. You'll find out that in the last election, when Bola Ahmed Tinubu was just a candidate, he wasn't a president, he hadn't failed so woefully. He hasn't lied consistently to Nigerians about our economy and borrowed more than Buhari. He hasn't told us how well they're doing on repairing infrastructure and Nigerians are sleeping on the roads. He hasn't told us about how he's fighting insecurity and more Nigerian lives are being killed by the day. He hasn't failed so woefully. 21 state governors in 2023, Victor, could not deliver their presidential candidates in this country. They couldn't. Even the state he governed for 8 years, don't forget, this is true historicity. The state of Lagos that he governed for 8 years and has held by the jugular since 1999. He lost to Peter Obi. They know that once a credible opposition candidate comes, he will sweep the polls, even if they have 36 state governors. So what they are trying to do is ensure, okay, ADC can't be in the polls in 2027. Any other one that comes up will not be. And so they have to deal with, quote unquote, a seemingly wishy-washy opposition. But they have forgotten. Maybe they do not have the time to hire professionals who are experts in political analysis to tell them that is either of three things before you. Is either you allow for credible and vibrant opposition and go back to the drawing board to make Nigeria a huge construction site within the next 1 year and ensure that in actuality Nigerians see your performance. You will lose woefully. That's a simple analysis, Victor. These people should go back to the drawing board and make democracy responsible to the people. They should make governance responsible to the people. They should turn Nigeria to a huge construction site where we see in actuality what they're doing. If they continue to do politics and think that INEC will mess us up, and think that the DSS, the DMI, the police, the NIA, and whatever state apparatus they control will stop us from speaking up, oh, they've got something huge coming. And that something huge is the fact that this country is a country of great fighters. I don't know whether you remember the great Shehu Okewo of the Ali Mongo protest. I don't know whether you remember that we still have a few strong, vibrant minds that will not cower. I don't know whether you know that in this country we resisted the military, and when IBB annulled June 12th, he could not but use wrong language when he told Nigerians that he was stepping aside. I don't know what that means. We still don't know what that means in English language.
He's still stepping aside.
But he ran away. I don't know whether you know that Absalom Abubakar, when he took over after the death of Abiola, he practically handed power over in less than 12 months. I don't know whether you remember that 5 political parties had endorsed Abacha's candidacy, and the sage Bola Ige said that it was the 5 fingers of a leprous hand, and Nigerians fought. I don't know whether you know, and I don't know where people are coming from this when they think that Nigerians are cowardly. I'm a Nigerian. I'm not cowardly. I'm 55 years old. I spent more than 9 years of my life in one custody or the other, and I'm not tired. On my way here, I told my brother that was driving me here that perhaps something tells me that some of us are going to return to the Gulag before 2027. And my brother said, they can't do it. And I said, no. They are dumb, deaf, and blind. They lack soul, conscience, and scruples. These men are cowardly. Cowards fight with everything. But truth will vindicate the just. And truth will set our country free. And I'll live in a country, Victor, I'm prophesying here, I will live in a country, and I believe you will, where justice will reign.
If you are to advise the ADC, or you are advising the ADC right now, what is that one mistake you advise them not to make in the next 30 days as the time starts ticking?
Let me say this clearly. I'm a mentee of the late Martin Luther King Jr. And he said that obedience of an unjust law is indeed the greatest disrespect of the law. I will ask the ADC not to obey unjust laws. I will ask the ADC to protest against unjust laws. I will ask the ADC to insist on marches and street protests against this INEC. I will ask the ADC to go beyond press statements and newspaper releases and ensure that through sit-tights and protests will compel INEC to do what is right. And let me say clearly, I will ask the ADC to go ahead, exhaust the processes available in open court, and to go ahead with this convention. INEC is not the totality of the law. There is a law which derives life from the people. If this INEC and the APC decides to make it impossible for the law to prevail, then, like St. Augustine would say, the people will do that which is needful because the law derives life from the people. And so I want to say clearly, Victor, that this INEC has shot itself in the feet.
All right, and let's take this in your piece. You wrote, but now that you have chosen to eat up yourself, who do you blame? You said the arrogance of power and idiotism of unresearched conquest is in full display in today's Nigeria under Tinubu. Can you probably make it easier for the layman on the streets to understand you better?
In making it easy, I take you back to 1939, when a certain Adolf Hitler, after having come to power through popular followership, decided to become God over Germany and prided in the German military as the most powerful in the whole world, and decided to annex Europe. In his arrogance, he went to war. I'll take you back to Benito Mussolini, who thought that the world, that space of the world called Italy, was under his absolute control, and he decided to run roughshod over the people. I'll take you to Pol Pot and all those tyrants who have taught that history was theirs to manipulate. I'll take you to Idi Amin. I'll take you to Mobutu Sese Seko. I'll take you back to Abacha. The arrogance of unbridled power. And you saw in history how these men fell. They did not only fall physically. Even the dungeons of history does not have a good place for them. That's how bad it is. Today, it's like the APC and Bola Ahmed Tinubu are in control. So manipulate the whole process. Unresearched conquest. Manipulate it. Get Amupiton to do what you want. Get the parties to hands up. Get the governors to run to the APC because that's where they think they will return to power from. Absolute control. It's foolishness, idiotism. There's nowhere in human history where such tendencies are paid well. And so in Nigeria, Nigeria is part of God's world. It will not work. That's actually what I'm trying to say. And in the arrogance of their song, they're standing on his mandate. They've lost tact. They've lost every sense of decorum. They've lost every sense of control. That's the idiotism of unbridled power. And let me tell you, Victor, that's why they think that after having destroyed the Labour Party and destroyed the PDP, you can destroy the ADC and then destroy everything about the opposition and still come through to 2027 and tell Nigerians that you're the president, you were elected. The question will be, elected by who? How? What was the process like? So I think that what they must do, the man have eaten himself. But you know what? Maybe he should begin to vomit. Maybe he should begin to regurgitate. Maybe he should begin to retrace his step whilst it is yet day. Maybe he should call Amupiton and say to him, oh, sorry, the people apparently have lost confidence in you, and if you continue, you will throw away whatever is left of sanity and sanctity in the electoral process. So please, I'm sorry, go. We'll get another INEC chairman. We'll get somebody who will manage the process and restore some level of credibility in the process. He must do something drastic. Let me tell you, it is not about you and I. It is about the APC and the president saving itself. I don't know whether you understand the logic here. That's the essence of that piece. Save yourself, Mr. President. That's the other caption. Save yourself now because you're self-destruct. Save yourself because you're messing up our democracy. Save yourself because you're messing with Nigerians. That's actually the essence of the series. And I did part 2 on my way here. I'm saying to this president, you've gone far on the wrong path. But like Nelson Mandela Mandela would say, the time is always right to do right. No matter how far gone on the wrong track you are, turn back and do right. History perhaps may absolve you. This president must understand that those who are goading him on are goading him the path of Golgotha. He must understand that those who are goading him on are goading him on the path to self-destruction. He must understand that nobody, and I say this proudly, has ever conquered Nigeria. This is not Cameroon. Apologies to my brothers from that country. This is not Zaire of Mobutu Sese Seko. No, this is not. This is not Uganda. Even my brother Bobby Wine is doing his best. This is a country of the great Chinua Achebes. This is a country that produced the women who stood up during the Aba women's riot. This is a country that produced the Coal City protest. This is a country, you know I'm from the Niger Delta. You know I'm from Anioma land. I don't know whether you ever heard about the Ekumeku resistance, the greatest resistance ever to have come out of Africa, where people protested and resisted the British. Go research it. This is the country my ancestors were strong. This is the country of the great Amina Ozaria. This is the country of the great Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who sang in the face of our enemy and said to them, what you're doing is demonstration of grace. Nigerians want responsible and responsive leadership. We have produced great ancestors in this country, and we will not put them to shame. If anybody must speak to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his goons, let them know that our ancestors were great fighters. They fought the British across the space of this country. Let them know that our ancestors never cowered, and we will not cower. Let them know that across the length and breadth of this country, people will speak up, people will march, people will fight the tragedies of now until we...
Between January and March this year, reports said that 1,000 Nigerians have been killed. And of course, these days you don't even know the one to say is latest. We're about describing Jos and Warukuba killing as the latest. Where official report put it at about 12, but other independent sources, BBC, Reuters, New York Times, put it at over 40. And then just the other day, we had the Benue one, you had the Katsina. That's why I said we don't even know the one to say is the latest. But the point is, Nigeria has turned into a killing field. Do we still have a country called Nigeria? Do we still have any hope in the security of lives and property?
In answer to that question, Victor, I'll tell you that, are you aware that there's a certain community in the Middle Belt today that's already training people to fight and defend themselves? Across our country, people are speaking up. That's exactly why I said to you that this presidency must wake up. Those who advise this president must wake up and tell him that this country, Nigerians have never, ever been conquered. Remember when Boko Haram started? Even in the face of the army, Nigerians rose up. Nigerians are speaking up. And I want to say clearly here that playing politics and leaving unaddressed the issues, the chief reason for which you were elected into power, which is the protection of life and property. Like you noted, between January and today, Nigeria has become a killing field. Bloodletting, human barbecues across the space, the length and breadth of our country. The government and governance has lost empathy and sympathy. Leadership has become grossly soulless. And you think he who watches the human pilgrimage, he who brought our planet out of primal vapor, has gone to sleep? You think that the souls of the departed has gone to sleep? Remember the spectacle of that woman who lost her only son. Did you see the burial rite? Had deep confidence in the esoteric and in the spiritual. She buried her son with a machete in his hands. And he said to her, to the son, go hunt down your killers. That's how deep our faith in the supernatural is. So those who are busy playing politics with matters of life, who are standing on a blood-soaked, blood-stained, and blood-soiled mandate, should beware. Because the sword of Damascus wears the name called Kama. Those who think that they can continue to watch human barbecues everywhere and think that God has gone to sleep should be careful. I want to say, Victor, that there is yet a country called Nigeria, and that's why we're speaking. And I believe that that country will rise out of the ashes of today, a better and a greater nation. I believe that sooner rather than later, Nigerians will look in the past and say, perhaps, in the form of irony, thank God for Bola Ahmed Tinubu presidency that struck to life our conscience as a people.
We're approaching 2027. The feelers on the street, for you, how do you think the geopolitical zones are likely to react to the Tinubu's mandate for a second term?
They'll punish Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even in the Southwest. I've heard from the streets, young boys and young girls who are detribalized, who have come to the urgency of now, who have come to the table of ideological discourse, who are saying that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has rubbished the legacies of their woes, the Bola Ege's, the Jakondes, that he has redefined the progressive ideals of the Southwest to greed and power control. And they are angry. Across the streets, I hear people in the Southwest say to me that the Southwest is not Lagos. Lagos is one part of the Southwest. And that what Tinubu has done is to turn Lagos to the heartbeat and has not cared for the average Yoruba man. They think that leadership must be inclusive. They think that Nigeria can do better with a leader that thinks about us, not about himself and his cronies. And you go up north, they're waiting to punish the Bola Ahmed Tinubu presidency. And I'll tell you why. Have you wondered why Joash Amopiton jumped out to try to dismember the ADC? Just a few hours after Kwakwanso joined the ADC, and a few hours to Bala Mohammed joining the ADC, it was like, oh, let us make it impossible for them to join because the North, through these individuals, will punish us. That's how clear it is. The mathematics is there. What about the Southeast? The Southeast is more like Sudan Watch. They're looking at the system and saying, we benefit nothing from this government. We get nothing from it. Just a few sycophants who are singing, on your mandate we shall stand, and the region has been dangerously abandoned. How can you be talking about a new port in Lagos, a congested Lagos, when you have in Iroele axis the deepest draft in Nigerian sea and water zones? But you don't know. If you were to dredge the Niger down the Iroele axis, there's no seagoing vessel that cannot come down to the southeast. Why would an Igbo trader have to travel to Lagos every time if you truly believe in one Nigeria to clear his goods? Why can't vessels come to the Onne port, to the Warri port? Why aren't you getting investors to dredge these seaways if you truly believe in Nigeria? They're waiting to punish this presidency. It's a lying, perfidious, and mendacious system. Across the country, they know. I'm not crying wolf. They know that they have failed on all scores. And then this government tells us that it is interested in decentralization and true fiscal federalism. How can you be interested in decentralization and all you're doing is creating more sectional, more regional establishments that answers to Abuja? You're increasing the power. Now we have Southeast Development Committee. How does that increase regional control when they answer to Abuja? If you truly want true fiscal federalism, if you truly want decentralization of power, empower the states and the local governments. You know, this country there's an inclination to have truths and perfidy. But we will continue to puncture those lies. There is nothing in the NDDC that encourages regional control because they answer to Abuja. That's the truth. He who pays the piper calls the tune. That's the truth. So I think that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu spin doctors should stop being smart by half. Before us, they act like dancers in the village square, lacking in principles and tact. And I want to say clearly here that Nigeria truly needs a leader who believes in the green, white, green.
Sincerely speaking, you stand out as one of the few that I've interviewed who spoke passionately, who spoke patriotically, and in defense of the opposition and standing with the opposition tall. But in your quiet moments, when you try to reflect, do you deeply think that the collective opposition has what it takes to retire Tinubu in 2027?
Deep question, and I'll answer deeply. Mahatma Mohandas Gandhi said to his followers, do not be scared if you are the minority of one. The universe will stand with you and by you. And ultimately, that one will be the victory that transforms the universe. I don't care what fears, what darkness, what multitude of fears are out there, Victor. I really don't care. You know what sustains my battle? Let me give you an instance. I bear on my body scars of the Nigerian estate. Maybe that is why every time I think about our country, I think about how that my younger sister who was kidnapped and died in the hands of kidnappers, my immediate younger sister, rests in peace. I think about her. Patricia Nwaokobia. I think about my younger sister, Uchenna Ruth Nwaokobia, who died from a ghastly motor accident along the Lokoja trajectory. After having made a first class from her university, she died 3 weeks after. Bad roads. I bear the scars, and I know that they will not, and they have not died in vain. And you know what? Even they're all Christians and Muslims. They know that the spiritual is stronger than the physical. That's why they have marabouts everywhere. And I hope that their marabouts will tell them that what is ahead, immediately ahead. Victor, call me a clairvoyant in the next 1 year. What is immediately ahead is far more draconic for the APC and their court jesters than what Nigeria has seen. Because the blood of the innocents that have been spilled everywhere, those who die of heart attack, those who die in the hands of villainous urchins, those who are murdered every day by bandits, those who are killed because the state has refused to protect them, their blood is calling out for vengeance. I feel it, I see it. You ask me, what do I see when I'm alone? That's what I see, Victor. I see hearts of angry souls calling out for redemption. I see hearts of children saying, don't give up.
Let's wrap up this way. You said Nigeria today has one of the worst, if not the worst, democracy. That's a death sentence on this republic. With this seeming reality, what is your advice to Nigerians going into the elections? Where do we go from here?
2027 is going to be a defining moment, a watershed. If you have a PVC, get it ready. It is not about punishing any individual. It's about redeeming your country. It's about saying to an old, wasted political class, it's time up. It's about saying that the time to build a country of leaders who are responsible and responsive to the people is now. It's about saying to our nation, enough of sycophancy. Because I'm looking for a debate platform where we'll debate the greatest believers in this administration, where we'll debate the best of the city boys and tell them that Nigeria is a nation bleeding from top to bottom. And tell them that this country must do right. Else, like Martin Luther King Jr. would say, else would die as a nation. And my brother corrected me a few days ago at home when I said that Tinubu has brought Nigeria on the path to Golgotha. And he said, no, bros, we're in Golgotha already. And the time for redemption and a salvage is now. Our people must know that redemption will not come from the political class. It must come from the people. And the credible opposition that we can build in this country is the masses of our people. Arm yourself with the PVC. Step out and say, a new order is what we're voting for. Anything but the APC. When we're done with the APC, we'll sit up and challenge whatever wrong comes after. But this wrong must stop. This wrong must stop come 2027. And Victor, I mean every bit of it. The departed forebears, our ancestors, and those who are victims of this madness are saying this wrong must stop. And they will only use the people to achieve that cause. And I believe that collectively, if we continue to speak up and speak out, our people will rise to the urgency of now and will stop this wrong in Nigeria.
It's a pleasure always having you on the program. Thanks
Pleasure's
once
mine.
again.
God bless you. God bless Nigeria.
Yes.